Hey guys, I'm going to take some time today to talk about the deep state and its involvement in this whole gang stalking thing. Now, what is the deep state? The deep state is a governance made up of potentially secret and unauthorized networks of power operating independently of a state's political leadership in pursuit of their own agenda and goals. In popular usage, the term carries overwhelmingly negative connotations. The range of possible uses of the term is similar to that for a shadow government. The expression state within a state is an older and similar concept. Historically, it has designated a well-defined organization which seeks to function independently, whereas the deep state refers to more a hidden organization seeking to manipulate the public state. So this talks more about the deep state, but I'm going to go ahead and just get into this. I'm going to get into this article, not exactly article, document I came across just this yesterday night. It was by, I guess, Bob Williams. I don't know, it's on Scribd, something called Scribd, and I was looking up some gang stalking about trying to figure out what these clicking sounds are in my vehicle and the windows and all that, which I have noticed for years since this gang stalking began, and this guy has a shitload of information on this whole program, everything going on and everything. So I'm going to go ahead with and talk about the most important points that I'm seeing here and really talk about this program. But he basically talks about his story as well as an introduction of, in the history of war has taught us one thing is that the weapons always get better, from swords to guns, bombs, satellite-guided nuclear fusion weapons, all have been used to perpetuate human suffering, torture, slavery, and death. For decades, people lived and still do live under the threat of complete nuclear annihilation. 80 years after a war that killed millions with causes of death ranging from death by nuclear weapon to death by systemic genocide. So he goes a little more into, Big Brother is a term for the book 1984, referring to a society where technologically empowered government manages its population through constant surveillance to the point where it is not feasible to fight back. So he talks a bit about Big Brother, a little bit about Canada, how, basically he's talking about the standard of living, how everyone could just use smartphones to easily, catch a ride, order food directly to your door, manage your finances, basically everything's done through these devices. And basically talk about the United States is largely considered to be the most military capable nation on the planet, perhaps a wide margin. This is logical. To protect your resources, you need to be able to physically defend them. And the United States, as the wealthiest country on earth, has a lot to protect. Being the wealthiest is able to produce most of the research and talent in terms of scientific breakthroughs and has a large base of consumers to purchase new technologies. The U.S. spends about $50 billion per year on their military, whereas China only spends about $100 billion and Russia less than $70 billion. The U.S. Armed Forces also have training and experience. In my lifetime, there has been the invasion and occupation of Iraq 8+ years, invasion of Afghanistan 90+ years, intervention in the Syrian Civil War 5+ years, and Libyan Civil War 9+ years. There are many other conflicts not involving deployment of troops where aid is needed by the Navy, Air Forces, or special covert operations such as the Civil War in Yemen or operations in Africa. I put Civil War in quotations because it is funny. Okay, I'm not going to read all that, but let me go down. It said, in comparison, China rarely, if ever, undertakes any sort of invasion or occupation. And although Russia has seen more conflicts than China, it still pales in comparison to the global dominance of the United States. The NSA, or National Security Agency, is the arm of the U.S. Department of Defense that is responsible for global monitoring, collection, and processing of info and data for intelligence and counterintelligence purposes. It is tasked with the protection of U.S. communication networks and information systems. The agency, much like the CIA, is legally protected via the classification system, and it is impossible to know for certain what is the NSA's budget, for instance, and anybody who gave away such information to the public would face severe legal repercussions. In 2013, Edward Snowden, a high-level NSA employee, leaked slides and documents showcasing technology that the NSA used, and many of the technologies shown were from 2008, meaning that even at the time of the leak, the technology was likely already out of date, out of use. The disclosures revealed the stunning extent of the U.S.'s mass surveillance. In 2012, there were about 5 billion phone See, look what they're doing to my phone right now. Look at that. They're making my phone go haywire. Hang on 1 minute. Oh my gosh. They do this all the time. Like, they'll make the page go crazy. Like, dude, you guys can see how hijacked my phone is right at this moment. You know, it's crazy. So let me go ahead and get back to where I was. Okay. So let's see. In 2012, there were about 5 billion phone location data points being stored per day. 100% of the phone calls and emails made within the U.S. had their metadata recorded, and the NSA was monitoring nearly 100,000. I accidentally clicked that button. Nearly 100,000 computers with software that allowed for full access to that system. NSA employees can also make a targeted search for any recorded email, video, chat, or instant message that was stored in the past 5 years, and the NSA sees 29 million gigabytes of internet data per day as of 2013. In this report, I hope to show that the government, specifically a faction within the United States government as the originator, has in essence become the big brother, and not in any small sense of a word. Since I will argue that the government has developed a combination of technologies that essentially allows them to control people. All the technology is possibly smaller than the eye can see and includes potentially a camera, a microphone, speaker, and an energy beam weapon device that can be used for lethal purposes like inducing a stroke or heart attack, or simply to communicate by tapping objects. High-tech satellites are also a candidate. It is possible that a faction within the United States government discovered this combination of technologies and tactics and thought originally that this weapon could be used against the United States, and so to prevent a potentially catastrophic outcome, they decided to use the weapon first. At this stage, where the government faction has been working on the capture phase of bringing people into the group since potentially 2013 or earlier, there are millions of people who have been trapped by this group from all walks of life. These millions of people possibly have a tiny device in their ear that allows an operator to give them directions and listen to the subject's environment. They have created an entire underground secret society based on their technology, and they essentially have total control over people and therefore institutions and therefore the entire way of life, as nobody can go through life without interacting with the bank, employer, school, etc. So, in the system they have created, there is one large difference from 1984. In the novel, the government banned sex of any kind, and maybe Orwell thought that a sexless society was the end result. But in real life, sex is used as a powerful motivator to keep people happy. To join, you must commit sexual acts on video, and once you join, you are their subject, as the video is often illegal pedophilia. So to dehumanize and dominate their subject into submission, they use them as sexual objects, and it also keeps the members of the group content and rewards them for loyalty and for their sacrifice, giving up part of their freedom, privacy, or for sexual services provided to others. People involved have no choice but to join if they want to keep their lives or their family alive and continually do what they say, which may be as simple as doing everything completely normally, and people are trained to act normally with the technology, with proven severe consequences for anyone who does not acknowledge or reveal them. The whole system is set up for total depravity. They want people to feel used, not in control, defeated. However, most people simply adapt to the new world and all its pains. The amount of suffering caused by this group is enormous. Perhaps it was destined to happen anyway by nature of how power works. But it seems to me that everything has been done for the wrong reasons. To me, as someone who has seen how many people are affected and how much power they really do have, it is saddening that it has come this far. That is why I've written this, because not everyone had the option to speak out. I know it sounds like something out of a science fiction book, but it's true that this group exists and it cannot continue. People are supposed to matter. People are supposed to have a voice. People are supposed to exist freely. Consider that it's not just my experience, but millions of people that you have the potential to help by just accepting the promise that I have given you. Few people in the world can tell you to listen, and just by listening, you can help millions of trapped souls who have done nothing wrong. Statement of sanity. So he goes ahead and shares his account of what he's gone through, how everything kind of recounts of event of his story. So he started out, I guess going to college and just, a normal life. Like, I guess he said he, was in university, got in, had a job, smoked weed, went to university, dropped out, parents divorced, went to school again and dropped out, kicked out by single parents, went to London, moved to London, apartment with a girl I met online, had a breakup by my own. So he kind of shares a little bit of his story and how this all kind of begins, how he played video games, smoked some weed, and basically he said part 2. After graduating in 2016, he had a string of bad roommates. Most were abusive or controlling. One had a warrant out for his arrest. The last roommate I had was fine on the surface of reality, but he was keeping a secret. Around 2015, a plumber developed a noise to affect a certain entire section in the apartment building, and it lasted until I moved out in 2019. The noise was loud, and other tenants were able to hear it, but the noise never stopped. So he talked about how basically there was a flood because something happened where his roommate, I guess, had a bidet and on the toilet or something, and somehow I guess it ended up like flooding something and ended up like getting everything wet. Kind of like, I guess, a big story of some stuff with roommate issues, and kind of tells more of his story. And he was playing a video game one day, and he began to receive death threats and packages in the mail, and some like graffiti things written and everything. And he said he started playing the game for many hours a day, every day, a competitive online game called Trench Wars, which I originally started playing when I was 13. In October 2016, I made 2 racist comments publicly within the game against someone who cheated against me. The game had been plagued by cheaters, and every day I would be cheated against many times with no repercussions. I started to receive death threats and packages in the mail. My computer and accounts were completely hacked and more. They could see my screen, would communicate subtly on the games that I played, and I thought they could hear me if I plugged my microphone into my computer. One time in early February, they suggested I perform sexual favors on my roommate. It was implied by doing this would open up opportunities to pay large amounts of money. I said to knock on the wall if they were serious, and there was a thud a few moments later. Nothing happened from that, but the next day, my roommate invited me for breakfast and asked what some idioms mean, such as chopped liver and let sleeping dogs die. The next day, after a night where I didn't sleep, I called my mom saying my roommate was going to kill me and that I needed to move back. She said it's fine, and I went to get to the bus and ended up being harassed all the way to the house. So that seems to be where his gang stalking began. And so he has all the gang stalking story. He talks about things that happened to him, how he started getting these covert kind of threats, and once he got to his mom's house, he realized that they had been there already, and he thought they had threatened his mom to use a social media app to coordinate plans, and I thought neighbors were using x-ray machines in our house to zap thing. I went to the hospital twice in the first month of time to address my comments on the phone. I was diagnosed with cannabis-induced schizophrenia, a condition that I do not have. I went along with the plan, and once I created a good enough paper trail that these people would leave me alone. They had convinced me that I had revealed information to a large amount of people on my computer that the police may come to interview me. Then in February, I expressed my suicidal thoughts. They were just a passing comment, but I stayed overnight in the hospital. In March or April, I was driven to the hospital because I started speaking openly about the group. My mom took me to the hospital where I stayed for about 2 weeks. I was sent to the hospital again after, but I fought for an early release and only stayed a couple days. Both times I fabricated the excuse that I had smoked cannabis when I hadn't, so that I would not receive a more severe diagnosis. So this is exactly one of the ways that they work in this gang stalking program is they will work to frame you with schizophrenia, frame you with a mental illness. So this guy had to go ahead and say he smoked cannabis so he would not receive a more severe, like a real schizophrenia diagnosis, that it would just be a drug-induced cannabis like schizophrenic diagnosis, which means that's just temporary and gonna go away. So these people work to frame you as mentally ill. They're working in the hospitals, they're working with the cops, they're working with everybody. Everybody's working in this system. And as time went on, I started learning things about the group. I learned they had tiny cameras and a tiny device to tap things invisibly and make a noise. Around March or April, I discovered they were using a two-way earpiece of some kind, possibly very small, just like the other device that allowed them to communicate with each other. I also learned this earpiece, I had to do a video to be used as blackmail against me. At first, the requirement for this blackmail was homosexuality or incest. Eventually, the requirement became pedophilia. All videos would be highly embarrassing, might be combined with serious threats off screen. After you do the video and go through their torture, you are given the earpiece, and from there you basically do what the operators tell you. So he talks about once he was at his mom's house, he quickly realized that something happened. The neighbors banged on the wall. Objects in the room make cracking or popping sounds as if somebody had physically hit the object. And I had an overall sense of being watched or tracked. So that's one of the things I notice a lot. They are using some kind of technology to make things tap. They make my water bottles tap, make noise. They tap the windows. There's something that they're using to do this tapping. And it's been driving me crazy. They especially do it at night. And here it said, determined in March 2019 that the group used some sort of earpiece for communication, not social media apps. I had known since arrival in Brampton that they were using cameras, either hidden or small, and some sort of energy weapon that the group can use to make objects in the room make popping noises, can feel like someone tapped you on the shoulder, can make stairs, furniture creak, can give you a headache. It can even be fatal. This is what I have been dealing with for years now. Years. And I knew there were cameras watching me because of my every movement. Even the slightest twitch was noticed and subject to punishment or training, because they condition your reaction so you act normally despite knowing an important secret. I determined there was an earpiece because my mom said something very uncharacteristic, which gave basically a secret away, and I knew my mom not to speak like she did, and it possibly could have been planned. So, this group is basically trying to do a lot to get someone to make a video. So let's see, starting around this time, perhaps earlier, I began to know what the group wanted from me. I learned that they wanted me to get on the earpiece, but to do this, the group needed something from me. The deal has always been that if you do sexual acts on video, they will give you the earpiece and generally make your life better. At first, they wanted a video of homosexuality or incest, and then it later turned into pedophilia being the only option. For some people, they will show up in the middle of the night after they have rigged your house so they can surveil you and give the offer of doing the video right now, or have them, quote unquote, commit suicide. Since all this started, one of the most common threats I've received from them is that they're going to come in the middle of the night and give me the choice of doing the video or, quote unquote, hanging myself. So they do all the setting up of the video, and the person just has to do the video once. But once they do the video, they can essentially do what they want, as they basically could do without it, and they may also make other stipulations before you receive the money, such as multiple acts over a course of time or training somebody not to do something using sexual acts as punishment. So yeah, so I guess that this group is involved with pedophilia, incest, homosexuality, and I don't know what this is, but this is insanity. This is fucking crazy, man. This is crazy. So he's here saying, every day is the same for him. Every day is the same for me. I'm under complete surveillance. I am constantly told to just do the blackmail video. We communicate constantly through taps and noises. I can say whatever I want, but they are limited to communicating through these taps or noises. The tap feels like a poke if someone pushed on your skin, and the noises can be anything from the neighbor banging on the wall to a fizzle or to a crackle or fizzle in your carbonated drink to tinnitus in your ear. If I go somewhere in the car with my mom, the drivers are completely acting just to annoy you or cause an accident. I've seen car crashes and way too many close calls. They do not usually try to cause an accident to me, but to others they will turn without signaling, do U-turn, speed pass, etc. So yeah, I have noticed this kind of road harassment. They do try to usually act like they're going to hit my car, threaten me, very, very bad things. And to hear more what he's saying, he said, they say if I join, I will have very special privilege that's not a lot of members receive. They have made every promise in the world to have me give up my freedom, fame, money, beautiful women, social connection, getting me famous people. They have even promised to free me if I do the video, which I do not trust. I tried negotiating, but they're completely insistent that I do the blackmail despite me not having the desire to either live that lifestyle or give up my freedom. So they're basically trying to basically coerce somebody into doing satanic acts and becoming a Satanist. And this is what it's about. This is about trying to coerce people into becoming Satanists, is what it sounds like to me, doing satanic acts and acts that are very bad. So my daily life is a struggle to deal with the group annoying me in order to persuade me into doing the blackmail. They have made every effort to annoy me and insert themselves into my focus. So he's talking more about that, of what they do. So Around July, August of 2020, I came to the conclusion that the group doing this wasn't Russian or some underground criminal group, but the United States government, the only country that would be capable of doing something like this, or at least the most likely candidate to take over the world is the U.S. I believe that they did this because they developed the technology first and believed that an enemy could potentially take over their country this way, so they decided to do it first. The best way to protect your country from the threat of such technology is to monitor your own people. Therefore, you will have knowledge of an enemy trying such a tactic. I believe that they use this reason to get people to do what they want, because it could have been much worse if an enemy decided to use these technologies and tactics. So the 4 pillars of the group's use of technology are the camera, the energy weapon, the earpiece, and hacking. Each technology provides support for the rest and supplements the benefits of the other technologies. All devices have access to Wi-Fi or some other connection and are possibly an example of nanotechnology, microtechnology, and can be wirelessly powered. Everything I know about these devices is based on an educated guess. Perhaps I am way off, because they have not said how they do it. I can only judge what is happening based on my own experience, which may be crafted. However, I am fairly sure of the capabilities they have, but not how they do it, if that makes any sense. Directed energy weapon. Energy, as it's referred to here, is just the encompassing word for electromagnetic radiation, which ranges from X-rays to microwaves to radio waves. Energy comes in different forms, but the energy they use is limited to the EM spectrum, which is otherwise invisible, yet capable of producing devastating effects when applied to a human subject. Radio waves are well known to be relatively harmless, but X-rays or microwaves are capable of producing lethal effects. The energy weapon device can be used with both useful communicative purpose or destructive purposes. The device shoots out some particles invisible to the eye, but with the same effect as hitting an object. The beam can be aimed at objects at any depth, and it will be like something knocked at the exact depth and location. The beam can be very precise and uses X, Y, Z coordinates to affect objects on the surface or on their inside. For communication purposes, the weapon is inferior to direct communication via the earpiece. However, in my experience, where I don't have an earpiece, the direct energy weapon is one of the key tools used for communicating. So with these directed energy weapons, they have them installed in the roof of my vehicle. They know I'm sleeping in my vehicle, so they have them installed in my vehicle. They are directed specifically at me and in areas close to me, and you will hear this clicking sound, and you could definitely feel that a beam is hitting you, and you'll feel a headache. And these noises and clicks and stuff are popping off in my vehicle, and these I believe that these beams, they probably are connected to my cell phone as well. They've installed some kind of technology in my cell phone, so I have to get a new cell phone, because it is insanity, So the benign effects are pulsing, pinging, throbbing, light pain, tingling, numbness on any body part. Medical effects: headache, toothache, tinnitus, nausea, diabetes, possibly seizure, ocular trauma, blindness, cancer, heart attack, and stroke. So they do this. They actually raise my blood pressure daily. They cause me headaches daily. Examples of the weapon used for communication: hitting the right or left hand or leg to tell someone where to go, hitting the head to tell someone to think, pinging an object in a room multiple times corresponding to yes or no. In August of 2016, it was revealed that U.S. and Canadian embassy personnel in Cuba had suffered from a variety of health problems dating back to late 2016. Hearing loss, nausea, memory loss were some of the symptoms. With one individual requiring a hearing aid. The ultimate list of symptoms is problems with sleep, cognition, vision, balance, speech, headache, sensations of pressure or vibration, nosebleeds, brain injury, and brain swelling. Diplomats sustained injury to widespread brain networks, according to a government study. The most believed cause of this is microwaves, i.e. EMF pulses. I believe that the symptoms experienced by these diplomats, termed Havana syndrome, is actually the result of the same energy weapon that I've explained here. And yes, and this is exactly what I've been talking about. All of us have been experiencing Havana syndrome every single day. We have been hit with these same weapons, these same exact weapons, but the news won't really talk about it. They won't really talk about this kind of stuff. So there's a two-way earpiece that he's talking about, and they're using this as an open communication channel. There's an operator on the other end supported with software who's literally listening, watching everything you do. It's possible that some people have good experience with this technology in their lives, but from my life and other possible accounts, seems more likely that people are treated cruelly for no reason whatsoever. People are conditioned to accept the noise in their ears, so it's rare to see broadcasters slip up, and if they did, the viewer will see it as nothing, basically. Regular people do fine with the earpiece, and as they are trained like anybody else to ignore it. There's a possibility that the group uses a V2K voice to skull. There is a proven effect that occurs due to pulse microwave emissions where people can hear clicks or even voices if they are within sufficient range of the source. I have never experienced it personally, but there are many people who swear it has been used against them. It would explain how the group can first contact the intended victim, and the technology required is similar to what they already use, in my belief. The idea that the group entirely uses V2K and that there is no earpiece is flawed. However, because V2K can only be used in a one-way communication, sending, not receiving, and I know they are capable of receiving audio in a variety of different environments. Wow. So he's talking also about that. He's talking about the camera. There's only a low chance that there's satellite doing the surveilling because the group can see very minute details such as eye movement, what's in my line of vision, and the sentence I've read in either a smartphone or my book, and they can view inside or outside. In my experience, the camera is monitored and the person is tracked 24/7. The cameras can be viewed in color and high resolution night vision. That is actually implants. We have all been implanted. If you have been targeted, I'm going to go actually in my next video I'm going to talk in this video he had spoken about. These people actually are kidnapping people as well. They are tasing and kidnapping people. Much of what was done to me in the deep underground military bases and my military type of style abductions was done by this group, and they had put a implant in my eye. I was implanted. This man worked to implant every part of my body. He implanted my eye by using a needle, like a type of shot, and he did something in my eye, and they are able to look through my eye and see things through my eye. And I know when they were using this, when they were doing this in California and could see through my eye, I noticed that my vision would blur in that eye that they were using. So this group, he's talking about the hacking that they do, and he said that they are, basically, these are large scale, and they have access to funding that would be out of reach for smaller hackers. Like, this is top level technological hacking. This is why you know that this is being done more so by the United States government, because it is, they're able to use, tactics from phishing to social engineering to direct control and subtle monitoring. Every tactic written about and then some is within their capability. They have access to the actual hardware and many important systems in addition to many zero-day exploits. They can access the system professionally and may use tactics to make the system intrusion look a certain way, like a murderer crafting a crime scene freely. They have viruses, malware that will not show up on any antivirus, and if you notice any discrepancy on your electronics, they already have full access then. They can do all sorts of monitoring, and the virus can be picked up from a number of places without warning, so that they then have full access to what you browse, what you type, what webcam records if you have one. So on the other end, the group has software that allows them to interact with the environment basically as if it were a computer game. They likely have an entire software that is sick and disgusting if you saw it, allowing people to inflict cruelty with zero consequence just from using a computer interface. Everything is done through their software. The operator may have key bindings, foot pedals, and is probably assisted by AI. So I think that they use this technology to kill birds and do other sick shit in nature and other just disgusting. These people are sick. So he's talking more about the nanotechnology and the satellites, communications. A lot of this goes deeper. They're also using the media as well. A lot of this stuff, he goes deep also into the media also being involved, how the type of programming type of stuff. So hidden messages or common TV ads, newspapers, even songs can be used to convey information to groups or individuals. Every medium can be manipulated. So basically, like, tarot readers can be manipulated, all that kind of stuff. Saying what you want, using subtext, share language, and dog whistling to express the correct idea. Many people in the group will be able to associate a tapping noise or the sun, certain animals, etc. with the meaning because they are part of a lexicon of this shared language. So yeah, this really is a really interesting thing here. And it really goes deep into things. And so he's talking about these taps. And I actually, after reading this article, I began to notice this, that there are certain, with these noises they're making in my vehicle, these taps, like, I noticed like either a one or I noticed two taps or whatever. So he's saying like when they do one tap, that means death or I die. Two taps means do the blackmail video. They tell you this a lot. Three means keep going. Nobody does anything. They also tell me to do this. Four means that I try to run or escape from the group somehow. They do not tell me this. 5 means freedom. 6 means I report them to significant authorities. Yes, 2 taps. No is 1 tap. So it's a kind of game or something. And he's like, it's associated with like numbers. And he's talking about how they're using numbers. He's saying the sun, which is what they call their threat of using nuclear weapons. Related words such as sunshine, sunrise, and dawn are sometimes used, or raw. So basically, he's talking about all the little things that they use, different things. Let's see, AR, cookies, tacos, ice cream means money or cash. People caught by the group are seen as animals or pets that the group has, so they call the mass of people caught people fish or buffalo. They might call me a bee as it was determined they sting you once, then you die. People who fight back are called unicorns because they don't exist. Let's see, EZ means PC games, milk, yogurt. This is how they describe their sexual reward system. It is called this for 2 reasons. The first is put in the minds of people that this system is natural, essential, and the second is a reference to semen. Let's see, drink Cliff Bridge. These are all words that refer to me killing myself. They tell me to do this because they believe it is not possible to beat them. Right, left. Okay, trigger. This is just a common word they use to scare me because you can use it in a regular conversation. It'll sound completely fine. Essentially defines the way they speak. And let's see, girl, baby, pregnant. They call me a girl. Oh, wow. I'm just looking at all the things, these covert type of word things are using. It says fuck balls. Fuck can be used as a expression of frustration or as a verb or even a command or wow. Okay. So it's a lot of programming stuff. And all this. He's also going through how they use songs to communicate. Both parties use song lyrics to communicate how we feel. So he's talking about, for example, the Jackson 5, ABC using A as 1, B as 2, C as 3, and using an assumption of an additive rather than a multiplicative operation as would be the regular case in math. A1, B2, C3 equals 6. Which holds true for when they say 1, 2, 3 on the video that I play. There is an announcer who says, I think this is probably the first time this record has been played on the air and it's about to be released. I play the song every day, so the first part is ironic, and the thing being released is this document. 1, 2, 3, baby, you and me, girl. You and me, girl. Okay, wow. And then he's talking about a Phil Collins song. B44, get down. If you get down on me, I'll get down. If you continue monitoring me and harassing me, I'll reciprocate in my own way. I will do anything you want me to do. I'll go through running rate. 2 + 2 = 4, as they probably planned. So, yeah, so going into this guy knows a lot about the things that they're doing, I guess. He has a list of the songs they use. Protest songs, basically Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror. Rage Against the Machine, Renegade, A Funk, Bulls on Parade, Leonard Skinner, Free Bird, Black Sabbath, Children of the Grave, Bob Marley, One Love, Paula Abdul, Opposites Attract. All right, so yeah, he's going in that, and he's going into the global impact here of the things that are done secretly. One of the keys to understanding the group and what they do is their prime motivator is secrecy. This doesn't mean they silence anybody with an opposing or critical viewpoint. That's difficult to do secretly. Instead, they might actually promote that opinion because it creates the picture nobody is in control. If you ban people from talking about a certain subject, you naturally look like the culprit. But if you allow information to exist freely, you can create an image, like I said, and also control the outcome, where sometimes the pawn must be sacrificed so that the chess match can be won. What this means is due to freedom of information, it's possible that even doing everything right can still pose an operational risk. And so you must have people who will be willing to suffer the consequences if they're caught or exposed for the benefit of the team and not themselves. So basically, he's talking about the geopolitical sphere being dominated by this one rule, secrecy. So there's a lot of stuff in this geopolitical climate that is secret that we don't know about that's going on. Another key to dominating what would appear to be free people is to control their access to information. Media control or media manipulation is used keenly by this group. Tactics include bias in choosing which stories are reported on, using group members to report stories, creating false flags where both parties are involved on the plan, or otherwise ordering people to do things even if they do not know the reason for it. The widespread acceptance of social media has made the group's job more difficult, but not impossible. Internet forums are easily infiltrated by bad actors and likes and shares and can be manipulated. News often contains a narrative, both perceived narrative and actual, and anybody not in the group yet only has outside knowledge of the world through this outlet. Therefore, they tend to believe what is on the news. Traditional media such as TV, news, newspapers, celebrity gossip, advertising, and more often serve as people's touchpoints to the greater community. Thus, the large-scale control of otherwise free people must involve control of the media. Almost any large media outlet such as CNN or the Toronto Star can and do have their messages manipulated actively. Newspaper headlines may make reference to your situation. Advertisements may be designed for your circumstance. But all this depends, because I don't think everybody has the media manipulator around them exactly like I have, because they didn't come the squeaky wheel. The other contact that people have to the outside world is digital media, social media, email, FaceTime, and so on. People may regularly interact with friends, family, strangers, or increasingly sophisticated AI. These digital touchpoints are also important for the group to control. Before you ever know you are a target, the group has already monitored and analyzed your digital data for any information they can use, including password, personal routines, habits, compromising photos, etc. Once they have access to a computer network, they can communicate in many different ways, such as controlling the ads the target sees or acting as a man in the middle to prevent the target from communicating with the outside world. The group places these barriers around people while watching them 24/7 with essentially gun pointed at their head, which is how you end up in the situation where people are compliant and secretive about this evil to an unforeseeable level. Lastly, people have access to relevant information through people and through word of mouth. This is why it is important for the average member to have great acting skill, and average people surprisingly do when the consequences are severe enough. It's not just a person, it is a potential source of revelation and a contact point. People tend to trust what certain people tell them. If your parent or spouse starts saying things even slightly differently than the first thing to your mind probably wouldn't be government conspiracy involving possible nanotechnology, if you even notice to begin with. Okay, guys, so I'm going to go ahead and make a part 2 to this video. I'm going to cut off right here, but I would love to know you guys' thoughts on this, and I will go ahead and I will also link this document. I will link the link to this in the description box, and I will try to link it also pin it in a comment.